Welcome, Noble Heroes. Welcome to our 10th session of Mythia. We are going to rejoin the heroes very shortly, but first we would like to give you our pledge. We here at the Homebrew Channel reserve the right to be horrible, crass, and crude when the story calls for it, but also to be delightful, sweet, and tug on your heartstrings. And remember, Noble Heroes, do try this at home. I'd like to do something a little special at the beginning here. I would like to go ahead and reintroduce our characters, our players, just so you can remember them for how awesome they are. So we'll start over here on my left with my friend Tyler, playing Roland. So Tyler, I wanted to ask only one question of each of you. How long can you estimate, have you played D&D?
You could probably answer that question better.
I can. I'm trying to think.
I mean, it's been a couple of years, right? Is it 5?
It's been at least 5.
At least 5?
It's been at least 5, yeah.
You think it's like 7?
So I'm 31.
So you started.
I'm 31, and it has been. It sucks. I have to trace time via my girlfriend at the time.
Oh no!
So I've been dating my current girlfriend for 4 years. So 4 years ago. So that puts me.
This is telling you all you need to know about Tyler.
That puts me
You're getting the full bio.
27, and then it was the girl before that. So yeah, I think about 6-7 years.
Okay, awesome. Started.
So how many girls was that?
So about
three girlfriends since we started
so that's
playing.
my girlfriends.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And you started in 4th edition?
Yep.
All right, awesome. So, Julian, how long do you think you have been playing Dungeons & Dragons, sir?
When was that one shot we did with my brother here?
3 years ago?
Longer than that, wasn't it?
4?
I think it was
4
longer
years?
than that. 4 or 5 years
What
ago.
game were we playing at the time is the question.
It was 5th.
It was 5e.
It was in 5th?
Yeah,
Okay.
beginning of 5th.
Okay,
It was,
so whenever 5e came out.
Yeah, so I guess about 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
There we go.
All right, and Jamie, how long do you think you've been playing D&D?
a year and a half. 2 years?
I think
A year and a half?
I think you're the shortest time at the table. But
Yeah.
I could go back and check my threshold notes. I know exactly when
No, it's not threshold. One shot with you.
You're right, I forgot about that.
Yes,
Hold on.
a past game in the same universe, but many, many years in the past. And I can't even remember the answer to this question. When did you start, Sarah?
I know exactly when I started playing role-playing games. It was
Okay.
exactly 15 years ago when I met you on our very first date.
Very
my
first
God.
date. How
Remember,
romantic.
guys, that's how you get to marriage. You start with the role playing.
Clearly.
Oh, God.
First day we met, I was offered D&D. Of course I went with it.
All right.
D&D and a Hellsing manga, of course. That tells you a lot about our relationship, I suppose.
So, we will go ahead and jump into the game then. And we will start with a little peek into a character that we normally don't get a peek into. Bali Finkiller held the Black Sun bandana in her hands. She sat alone upon her own cot in the sleeping quarter of the Outrunner. The cloth was marked with sweat and blood from long years, far longer than she had been alive. It felt oddly heavy in her hands. It could have been the thick stitching that held the painted sun, black as midnight and burning with dark power through her mind. Or it might have been the legacy that it represented. Bali was the great-granddaughter to one of the greatest pirates that had ever lived. Talona Finkiller had originally been Talona Knockwhistle, before she had slaughtered 10,000 merfolk, and earned her legend cutting the waves of harsh and brutal seas. That had been before Ronan Ironhand had brought down his fist and forced all pirates to submit to his rule. Back when piracy was as lethal as the executioner's axe. Her great-grandmother had gathered the most cunning and adventurous thieves, cutthroats, and bandits to her cause, to kill merfolks and get paid handsomely for the effort. Even Ronan himself spoke in reverent tones when he invoked the ghostly image of Talona. Bali slowly raised the bandana, flipping it around and wrapping it about her head. She pulled the cloth taut and twisted it, tying it off. Despite all the scars of experience on Bali's face and body, all the pain she had endured in her long years, she couldn't bring herself to wear it for more than a few seconds. Her face smiled in embarrassment, but shame filled her eyes. Euphemia was the rightful bearer of the Black Sun. Her friend may have come from nothing, but she had become more than Bali ever would be. Frustration marred her face, and she felt like a foolish youth she had been long ago. Then, Jania entered the room, and those emotions were gone, suddenly replaced by a stern but casual demeanor as she left to return to duty. "You okay, Bali?" Jania asked as the first mate passed. She seemed strange when the human warrior first entered. "Oh yeah, it's nothing," Bali shrugged. You all have left Oak Edge, having made a tough decision. One that some of the heroes and perhaps some of the crew had some reservations about. But you made it nonetheless. And you are on the river once again. The long finger that travels through Ignis's arm and ends at the Crystal Forest. Dom has already informed you that there will be a second Craddock Lock between Ignis's arm and the Crystal Forest River, which is supposed to be otherworldly. Traveling through this part of the woodlands is not necessarily dangerous, although there are plenty of rumors, including the rumor of those giant footprints many miles to the north that ended in the river. But as you all travel down in your powerful ship, the Outrunner, with its cannon and many ascended on board, you feel relatively at ease in between great patches of civilization that you will pass by. Since you all have chosen to continue your route very swiftly, might I assume that you're probably not going to be stopping any of the stops along the way?
I mean, unless an emergency occurs, I don't see a point to. But you're the captain, so.
Unless there's an opportunity to get the supplies needed to fully fix up the ship, no. So, are there any ports that would actually have those supplies?
Not in this woodland. Not that would take anything less than a week to repair the ship fully.
Then no.
They'd have to bring it into dry dock and do a bunch of stripping the burned wood and replacing it. Triss has some supplies that she'll get started on doing some other fixes that she can patch over. Did you have a question?
I did, and then I promptly forgot what it was. Sorry, we can all let you know.
So, once you guys leave Oak Edge, it has been... It's 8 days that you've been traveling in total. So, you have 10.5 days to get to the Crystal Forest. With that route, it means you only have 2.5 days, roughly, left till you arrive. So, what do you guys do the moment you set off from the Oak Edge dock? Are you busying yourself with chores to forget about the decision that you just made, or are you reminiscing on it?
I'd say Yuffie's busying herself with the ship, tending to her crew, making sure everybody's in good shape and ready to take on any other attacks.
Roland's probably just trying to stay out of the way. He's still a little frustrated that he felt so ineffective in the fight. And he's probably reading, keeping to himself.
Isaac is unfazed, and he's probably below deck with Prongor, and Prongor's helping him reload the Oaken Bolter, since he used up some ammunition in that fight.
June is going to find a quiet place and get out a little mirror and attempt to contact Nautilus and Grafe.
June, what's going on? Anything new happen?
No, we've just headed out from Oaken Edge. hopefully... Oh, hell, what was his name? Alkin.
Vulcan Finn?
That's the dead one. The new one. The one I got.
The one you got? Oh,
Jalkin.
Jalkin.
Jalkin. Did he have a name? Jalkin something?
Woodround.
Apparently I failed notes.
No, I didn't share with you last session.
Okay.
You definitely don't fail at notes.
Oh. Well, I did just stop at the word Jalkin, and then nothing else happened, so...
Yeah, your save versus notes is very high.
I am on page 25, and we're only on session 4, so I suppose there's that.
Jalkin Woodround headed down.
Yes. Hopefully Jalkin gets here soon. She will quickly update her on the events that occurred.
As you look into the mirror, you're going to notice that it's awfully dark in the vision from the other side.
Her eyes narrow. Where are you?
Oh, I'm just in a quiet place.
Are you in a cupboard?
No, I'm not in the cupboard, Juniper. I'm just not feeling my best today.
Her face immediately gets a concerned look. What's wrong?
The aches have come back. You know, it's just, it's natural.
Yes. She puts on a bright face. Alright, well, let me know if you need anything.
Right. As she goes to turn the mirror, you're going to see a light from the mirror is going to reflect off her face a little. You see a couple of fresh wrinkles on her face. She claps the mirror shut.
June will close the mirror. And then return to her public face and joins the crew.
Hey, Molly says to you, Femia. You want me to take over on the dock, on the wheel?
She sighs. That'd be great.
She holds out. He gave me this down below. It's the Black Sun bandana.
She reaches out. Thank you for holding on to it. And ties it immediately.
Need it, depending on the Murph.
She ties it.
You kicked some serious ass there.
I think we all did. I mean, it was a shit show, but...
I think the cannon kicked ass for me, she says.
Well, your aim was great, so... Thank
Hitting
you.
the target 3 feet away. Very impressive. Sharpshooter.
Well...
I wanted to get that one in the back, that red one, she said. I hate those.
They are the worst.
I wish we had some kind of list of all the spells that all the spellcasters could do.
Spellcasters sort of... They defy understanding. We have
I was worried
some.
that one of them was going to change me into a snake. You know, just poof. I don't like snakes.
I know you don't like snakes, but I wasn't worried you were afraid of being a snake.
I can make that happen.
I mean, are you not afraid of being a slug?
Shh. I think I would dodge whatever attack came my way. I'm confident I will not end up as a slug.
Hey. She puts her hand on your shoulder. I get what you were trying to do.
I still feel like we failed.
I think she was right.
I know.
mean, if we're going to do this, we should do it fast, right?
Yes.
It's pragmatic. I didn't expect it. It took guts.
I have those in spades.
Yeah. Usually they get ripped out, hung on a string, though.
That has not happened.
Not
She
yet.
thinks for a minute. No, that's not happened.
You're very sure, so I'll take your word for it. Hey, Dom, I'm taking over on the wheel, she says as she comes up.
She looks for Clebe next.
You will see Clebe is hanging on to a rope. He and Triss are both like hauling up the last bit of the anchor onto the deck. It was in like a holding position off the edge, but they wanted off the side of the boat. And as Triss yanks on the rope, Clebe is going to just like lift off the ground with her effort and just hang by the rope as he's pulled towards her slowly. Clebe is going to drop down, and Triss is going to send him over for several supplies down below. He's running towards the supplies. He runs towards you.
I see you're doing a good job here, Clebe, she says.
He's going to turn towards you. Good job, Clebe, he says in Bali's voice. He says, good job, Euphemia. The last one was in Dong.
Thank you. She pats his head a little bit. I'm glad that you were safe during the battle.
He's going to say, dance for Godmother? And he kind of gives you a bright, questioning look. He says, sparkles, in Jennifer's voice.
Sure. Sparkles.
Sparkles, he says in Jennifer's voice again.
She holds her head in her hands. Get back to work, and she strides away.
As he kind of like takes a couple of clicking steps, he's going to stop and then like he's going to walk backwards towards you.
She smiles at him, and she picks him up.
He's going to set his beak next to your ear as he gives you a little bit of a hug, and he says, "You like Isaac?"
She's gonna rear back.
He looks at you and he opens his beak slightly to imitate a smile.
Get to work, and she's gonna nudge him along.
Roll a low
Little
DC
bit.
intimidate check.
Isn't Clebe the same size as her?
He's a little smaller.
A little
He
smaller?
weighs way less.
Yeah.
He's a
Okay.
bird.
He's a bird.
She's like almost 10 times as much weight as he
If
is.
he has bird bones, how much does he weigh?
7 pounds.
7 pounds? Okay.
17. No, 18.
Okay. He's going to like hop, his feathers sort of pop out in fear, and he's going to scare off real quick. He's going to get down on all fours to descend the stairs.
How much do you weigh? Sorry, this is relevant, I swear.
Are you sure it's
It is.
relevant? I don't actually remember. She doesn't
On
weigh
the
that
second
much.
page, isn't it?
Is it?
It is. Second
Yes.
page top.
Oh, yes, so it is. Yeah, she only weighs 34 pounds. Excellent. She's tiny. Oh, dear.
Okay, you're not,
I know.
you're not
God.
10 pounds. You're not 10 times as much as Clebe is. You're
Future
only,
logistics. Sorry.
4.
Ideas I had.
So worrisome.
It's very worrisome.
Oh, you'll like
It's
my idea.
extremely
Trust me.
worrisome.
The entire ship hears. Suddenly, there is a mild sizzling directly in front of Euphemia. All of you are within view as Posix arrives with a satchel. He begins to pull out notes. Your notes have come, he says. Roland.
Seen better days.
He says,
It's like a note from a druid.
Jennifer. This is for the group, he says. Who would like it?
I'll take it, she says.
He thrusts it towards you. The note that he has handed Roland seems to be spilled on with beer. It is also extremely messy, and there is no seal on it. The note that has been handed to Euphemia is extremely fancy, with a very regal seal of the Kings of Garen on it. And the note that is handed to Juniper has a small black wax seal, and it's a tiny bit wet. Like it's got a little bit of moisture on it, like it was made on a boat. And all three are handed to all of you. And then he is going to look over towards Isaac. Your hands are full. He pulls out a sack and hands it to you. These were given by the Dryads.
The triads.
He drops it in your hands. As
Okay.
it is made almost literally out of reeds, and the top is tied with a root
A root. All right, Isaac will start undoing it. And look
As you
what's
open
inside.
it, inside you recognize 10 good berries.
Isaac looks befuddled. Then he hides his expression and
Isaac says,
cinches it back.
they couldn't write or read, but they wanted to give favor to those who sent them a note.
I see.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry. I was like, where the hell are dryads from? I get you.
I will wait for your replies if there will be any, he says.
Isaac would like to call over Clevie,
Okay.
and he's going to kind of like explain to him the usefulness of good berries, and then entrust him with the satchel.
He's going to say, good berries, in your own voice.
Do good berries still only last 24 hours?
You don't know. Dryad good berries may be superior. He's going to say, thank you, master, in Cornwall's voice. And then he's going to take them and run away with them.
Oh, God.
He immediately climbs up into his nest and throws them in the nest.
Like the satchel into the nest?
Yeah, up in the crow's nest.
Okay.
Prongor's gonna get like a complex if that happens too
Yeah.
often.
Prongor is going to come up with his arms crossed. Don't trust that bird.
Imitation is a form of flattery. He's just a
says,
child.
That's what I'm concerned about, he says.
I think Clevie should
Very
be the least of your
mischievous.
concerns.
So, the crew, it seems, you note that there is definite interest from the crew who's not reading any of the notes to see what interesting things have come from the outside, since it's mostly just mundane sailing at the moment. Do any of you share anything in your notes?
How long has it been since we left?
It has been about 2 hours.
Okay.
Pozix says that some of the notes did come earlier, but he wanted to collect them all before he came back.
Are you sure it's only been 2 hours? You sure you want to give this to me now? It feels like more time has passed than 2 hours.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. That note isn't supposed to come till now. Let's see.
Just reading it, going,
Spoilers?
Yeah.
well, yes. I'll just pretend I don't know that
It's a good thing you
information
got
for
it.
now.
You can call it anyway.
All right. So, what do you guys say about your own notes then?
She'll share hers immediately. It's a letter from the Kings of Garen, and that there's a pick of 3 candidates to take over the role of being heroes in Oak Edge. Thank you. And she shares which ones. Canis Illum, Canis the Hawk, can fly on his faded wings. Alma Drench, is that the 10-pot witch?
The Tin Pot Witch. That's right.
She can fly in her giant 10-pot. And Tor Greyish, Death Mask, his magical sailing boat, stolen from Charon the boatman, can sail the shadows and traverse great distance with some risk. Additionally, any cost for Oak Edge being protected would have to be paid for by themselves, since they're out of the borders, technically, of Garen.
Well, I've paid off. Oh, hell. Already forgotten his name.
Okay.
I've paid off Jolkin for the first 6 months, so after that, they will have to arrange their own payments, but
Well, hopefully they can raise more than a paltry sum.
So I guess we write them back and tell them that thank you, but we don't need one? Hero suggests.
Well, in 6 months.
I think we should forward the letter of information of who they are to the town's mayor and allow them to decide.
They don't have a mayor. They don't have an elder. And a council.
She goes, it's basically the same thing.
Hero's gonna get that's not correct. And he's going to start listing off on his fingers the differences between the elder and a mayor.
The
The system is totally different, he says.
She just does this, and she goes, I am aware. Thank you.
We'll send it to whoever is in charge. Or maybe the wife. She seemed more competent. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
What was in that note? Hero asks.
Arakan said no.
Oh, why is there beer on it? He sniffs it. A lot of beer.
I don't think he cared too much about it.
Oh. That sucks.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Some people fall pretty hard.
Everybody have different paths. There's just divergence for now.
And there's really no excuse for being afraid to face up to your own past.
No, but everyone travels that journey at a different speed.
You mean some run in fear?
Yeah. That's what it is. He's gonna go and sit down.
She shrugs.
We'll get that sent off.
Posix awaits your return note, which you craft
Yeah, I'll quickly
in the
write one
next
out.
couple of minutes and send off to Okage.
She'll say, "What did you get?"
Oh, I didn't get it yet.
Oh wait, that's
Right,
right.
yeah.
That's right. Never mind.
Okay.
Sorry.
Backtrack.
Backtracking is hard.
So Klebe, in the next half hour, is going to start going around and coming up towards people. And Roland, he comes up to you first, and he's going to offer his hand out towards you. What do you do?
What's the game this time, Bird?
He's going to reach over and gently take your hand, and then he's going to say, "Here you go, young man. Here's a nice treat for you." And he places a good berry in it.
Whose voice was that? Who's been giving you nice treats?
He goes,
Stay away from that person.
"The idea is for you." He kind of eh?
Thanks.
He goes, "No problem, little boy." He's going to run over towards Isaac. He reaches out his hand. "Here you go, little boy. Here's a nice treat for you," he says as he places a good berry in it.
Thank you.
He's going to go to each one of you and do the exact same thing.
Does Yuffie recognize that voice?
That was my
You do not.
question.
She will immediately ask him, "Who has been telling you this?" Was it... She's gonna lean down. "If anybody speaks to you like that, come find me."
He says, "Oh. You think he made a shadow noise there?" He goes, he seems to try to think. You've seen him contemplate like this a couple times when he's either never heard the name of the person said, or he goes, he's going to kind of get this serious look on his face. He goes, "Gotta watch and protect her. She's a pirate lord," he says.
That's right. I'll protect you, so come to me if anyone offers you anything odd.
"She's a pirate lord."
She pats his head. Thank you, Cleepy.
Roll pirate check.
Okay. 16. Do I add anything to it?
No.
Okay, so flat 16.
You believe it might be Inev, the hag.
Yeah, that's bad. I'll do that.
He runs over towards Juniper.
She would just come up the stairs. No,
He's got this kind of delighted, skip when he heads over towards you.
She smiles at him and goes, holds her hand out.
He's going to Here you go, my dear. And he places it in your hand. As soon as you take it, he goes,
She will do this. Her wand appears and she pops him on the head, and he's showered in sparkles.
he's going to frolic about, but then after he frolics, he comes back up.
What
He
do you
goes, he says, pardon me, in Dom's voice.
Oh. She goes.
Marshmallows, lots of them.
She glances around to see if anybody's watching her right now.
She's watching Cleby. Give that to you.
Oh, she's wondering if you're gonna stop her from giving a bunch of candy. She will do. She'll reach into her bag and go,
What are you giving him? She'll call.
marshmallow.
He's going to immediately grab them and run away.
He's
He
gonna be
runs
insufferable.
downstairs.
No, she's gonna follow right after.
You gotta chase after him.
June actually smiles a little as she does it, knowing that she probably shouldn't have from you, but she doesn't care. She's gonna spoil him like a grandchild.
He manages to stuff about half of them in his beak before you get to them.
I only gave him a handful.
Okay.
I'm not that mean. Jeez, I have to live with a kid too.
It's gonna be awful all night.
So, a few more hours till dusk. Do any of you do anything specific?
She might spend some time alone in her quarters for a bit. You don't know doing what. And she might want to speak with Hero. If he's off someplace by himself.
Hero is... You will find him. He seems to be measuring up one of the walls downstairs. I think you could fit an oven in here, he said, looking at you.
I don't think that's going to be our priority on a ship like this.
Well, yeah. Certainly not. But he could.
You don't have a galley?
There's a small galley. Was this your first battle? She says.
No, I've fought plenty of times. Not against so many, but I never had so many on my side either.
We did pretty well for ourselves, didn't we? All things considered.
You taking down that sea serpent was very impressive.
Yes, she looks down at her hand. My fate can be impressive.
Terrifying and impressive.
That too.
You have a lot of fans among your crew. Johnny won't shut up about it.
Well, isn't a crew's role in part to be loyal to their captain?
I think there's a difference between loyalty and raving admiration.
That's Johnny. Well, think of it this way. What do you think brought these people here? To live life as a pirate?
I don't know, I feel some kind of determination to get some kind of job done.
I forget sometimes how perceptive you are, she says.
It's not perception, it's just emotion.
I would say many things brought this crew together. Or brought this crew into piracy in the first place. There's adventure and riches. But I think some of us perhaps were looking for a home.
I don't gain the sense that's what brought you into piracy. Normally when people say riches and gold, they get excited thinking about it, but you really didn't, did you?
I didn't come initially into it by choice. You'll find many of us initially were not necessarily willing to serve on a ship. But it's also the freest I've ever been, she says.
from Aragoth, aren't you?
How do you know these things?
The reaction when King Jassia was brought up every time. You wince like you were whipped.
How far have you traveled outside of Garen?
I've never gone inside Garen.
Garen's different, she says. The rest of this world is full of nobles, lords, and ladies fighting for riches and influence and having no care whatsoever for the little people that they crush beneath them. You don't miss the little people. She
I'm
leans,
the little people.
she leans forward. I don't miss the little people either. We're both little people. Perhaps I can make the greatest difference doing what I'm doing now.
I hope that too.
Well, you should join the rest of the crew.
I think I'm going to try to cook something tonight. Think we can get Dom to tell another story?
I don't think it'll be hard to convince, she says. Thank you.
Shadow has curled up around you as once you read the note from Eric. She kind of almost sighed and laid her head on your lap. She's going to wrap one of her wings around your shoulders, almost like she's throwing her arm around you. A comforting move.
He'll sit there and pet her head and start reading again.
At one point, you will see her eyes look up at you. The moment you glance down, she looks away. She's playing.
He kind of cocks his head and looks at her and waits.
She's going to hold her head as a tree extends its shadow over the boat. You're going to watch as her back half slides into that shadow. And then she proceeds to play a game of whack-a-mole, look at you, from the shadows on the boat as her head sticks up. Triss is going to trip over her head at one point, sticking up out of the ground. She stumbles and looks back. And then seems to wonder what she tripped on as she walks away.
He'll laugh.
As she rejoins you after a moment, she's going to lay her head down for maybe another 20 seconds before looking back up at you.
You bored? What is it? Are you okay?
Her eyes turn away.
He kind of grabs her face and looks at her. Are you okay?
She nods quickly.
Okay. He'll start caressing her head again. But a little bit perturbed.
You see from the crow's nest, Clebe is staring at the both of you. Then he disappears slowly behind the crow's nest. What do you do with the constructs?
He only really used
The bolter.
the bolting.
Yeah.
I didn't have to sacrifice the thrall this time. He would restock the bolter And then with the time on the boat, he's like checked and double checked and triple checked and like kept everything in pristine condition. So eventually he's just going to be like, I can't keep like polishing things. Everything's good.
Master, I have noticed that I have a slight click in my arm. We might take a look at it.
Of course. Hand it over.
You're going to watch on deck. All of you will see Prongor take his arm, jerk it upwards, and then disconnect the entire arm off his shoulder. There is a slide of metal here that it locks into, and without it, you see it cuts off about right there. There is a plate of what looks to be steel buried into his flesh. He hands the arm over to Isaac, but it is still moving. It's going to bend slightly to reveal, and he's going to point with his good hand. Right there. He says, listen. And he's going to, you see his shoulder wiggle, and you see the arm move in Isaac's hand and click.
If Euphemia is on deck, she's going to walk over to Bali and say, well, that's just horrifying.
June, you probably didn't notice her, but she was behind you in the shadows, and she kind of chuckles at that.
Bali is going to turn to you. Oh, God. If he disconnects it at night, he can crawl on me and strangle me.
Places your mind goes. She looks at her.
The places your mind doesn't, she says, a little offended as she walks away.
June chuckles again.
What do you do?
I fix the arm, obviously, but I kind of take my time with it because fixing his arm is kind of like a cathartic routine for me at this point.
You, in order to make sure that he doesn't move it while you have a tool inside of it, you disconnect it from him.
Okay.
It's a simple mental exercise, a bit like letting the concentration on a spell go. Technically, the arm only moves because you will it to move. Without you animating his arm, Prongor would have no arm. Including several other very tiny pieces in Prongor that are still ticking away.
I want to ask him what he thinks of what we decided to do back there.
How do you ask?
Prongor, how are you feeling about the decision we just made back at Oak Dock?
Oak Edge.
Oak Edge. Docking at Oak Edge. Yeah. Back at Oak Edge. We kind of left them high and dry, didn't we?
I'm much more interested, Master. What your feelings on the matter. He says,
Well,
you said that we had both grown hearts. Does that affect your feeling on that?
perhaps. That kind of... He thinks the phrase cruel indifference, but then he says practical decision-making is something I'd expect to see from my contemporaries back in Selenox, but those are not the kinds of choices I'd expect to see from heroes.
He says,
It almost makes me feel more at home on the boat, as awful as that is. But is it going to stay like that with this group?
Master, I've realized something. You remember when we were back in Selenox, in the hideout, and I turned to you and you had said that you could make money doing good things. And I said, Master, you said something that I don't understand. And you said, think on it.
Well, have you made any progress?
I have thought about it, Master, and I've realized that our meanings were misconstrued. He says,
I see.
It has taken me many days of great thought upon this matter in order to come to this conclusion. Your intent was that I did not understand that you could not make money. He says, I asked, what have we been doing all this time? And you thought, what have we been doing? Not doing good things all this time. But that is not what I meant, Master, he says. I meant, what have we been doing all this time? We are making excellent money doing bad things. Much more significant money than we would be doing good things.
Isaac's expression is flipped, like his eyes are going left and right, trying to untangle Prongor's like method of thinking through these things. Because in that sense, they are very different people.
He says, "You thought that I hadn't thought about doing good things before. That was not the case, Master. I just knew that doing bad things was far more lucrative than doing good things.
I see.
I think that these heroes also understand that in order to do good, you need to do a little bad sometimes.
And that's why we left.
That's why the one, Juniper, the smartest of them, was the one to go on this route so adamantly, because she has a little evil in her, Master."
Isaac smiles and keeps thinking on that.
He says, "And I think that is why I distrust her the most. Because if she has a little evil in her, Master, and she's able to hide it behind the veneer of heroism, then how evil is she?
A terrifying thought.
I trust that Roland a little more, because he seems terrible with lying, Master, and is awful at telling stories. So he could not charm anyone into doing his bidding.
I see.
As dangerous as he might be," he says, "he is a blunt instrument, smashing people on the head with a wrench. You understand?"
If that's how you feel about the two of them, then how do you feel about the captain?
"I am more worried about her crew, Master. She possesses the most tools on the ship. That has not been the case with us before. You always possess the most tools. I feel as we are currently in need of sucking up to her so that she does not kick us off in the middle of the wilderness."
There's some merit to that.
But-
Have you been doing your fair share of sucking up?
He goes, "I did call her Captain, Master,
That's a good first step.
and I have refrained from calling her a shorty."
Prongor, see to it that you never call her anything but captain.
He says, "That is very wise, Master."
Is that what you would normally call halflings?
He says, "Back on the docks of Selderox, it was often a game that you would pick up the halfling sailors and throw them into the water and yell, 'Shorty, shorty!'
I see.
Horrible game.
Somehow that delicate bit of culture has eluded me until now.
He says, "Well, we'd never do it in front of a powerful and influential individual in case they wanted to hire us for a job with halflings."
God, I wish you heard that conversation.
Prongor, do me a favor and also see to it that she never hears about that tradition of yours.
He says, "I will try, Master, but if we go to Selderox, it is almost assuredly that someone will try with her.
I hope we go to Selena.
Oh God, me too. That would be fantastic.
Oh, God.
I imagine that there will be many bodies in the lake."
Yes. Did you see what she did to that serpent?
"Yes, the crew has not shut up about it, Master. That Jania is both lusty in battle and in bed." He
How does
says,
he know that's the question?
What do you think of Dom?
He seems smart, but too kind. I do not worry about Dom."
I got the same impression. And then Isaac will hold up the arm, now fixed, and reattach it.
Perfect. Thank you, Master. He says, "You are a genius and a wonderful inventor." Night is going to fall. As it does, Hero and Dom are going to work on starting a little contained fire on the deck in order to do some cooking.
Shouldn't we have a small galley?
I would assume there's probably a galley somewhere, or at least like one of those little portable stoves.
Yes.
Let's go with that.
Jennifer, as you find yourself on deck, you suddenly have a disconcerted feeling in your chest. It's going to grow into something recognizable, something you haven't felt in a very long time. An old enemy.
Like, how close would I feel this enemy is? Do I feel like somebody's going to attack me in the next few moments?
No.
Okay.
It seems distant. Just the vaguest touch. A passing in the night.
You know, if she felt it, he might feel too. And she's alarmed.
Is there any reaction? Visibly.
Well, I've made a point of sticking to shadows tonight, so unless anybody can, is staring at her, I doubt they'd notice it. I mean, is anybody staring at June right now?
Maybe Prongor.
Maybe probably.
Prongor probably is.
Prongor.
Grimacing at you.
Yeah, she would probably be... She has this gigantic book. It's like a giant tome that is about this wide, about this tall, and about this thick. And it kind of floats in front of her when she pulls it out. And she has that out right now. And has a little pot of ink floating next to her, and she was writing. And when that happened, she probably just sat up, looked around for a moment, and noticed that there's now a giant blot of ink on there. And she goes, damn it.
You notice that Triss has been awful quiet today. Maybe it was the trauma of the ship being burned. But now you see the giant walk towards Jennifer. Excuse me, Godmother.
Triss, what can I do for you? She waves her hand using a magic spell to dry the ink, and she closes the book.
I wanted to say, I am so sorry earlier for not helping with the merfolk.
She looks confused.
Lady gave me this. Here, you have it. She hands you a good berry.
What are you talking about, Triss? Without you, the ship probably would have burned around our ears.
You asked me to help, and I didn't. I told you no.
Sorry, Sarah needs a recap.
You were asking her to help bring the
Yeah.
merfolk aboard, and she looked at you and said, no,
Oh.
I won't.
So this is post-fight.
Yeah.
Oh, she goes, I wouldn't think on it. That's fine.
It was unforgivable. Please, tell me it's okay.
Inside her?
Sure.
Well, 7.
7.
I'm distracted by the current feeling in me.
She definitely is distraught.
May I ask what brought upon your reaction?
Just concerned that you were upset.
No, I meant with the merfolk. Was it the merfolk that you were concerned about?
It was the ship. Just the ship. I was concerned about the ship. It was the ship.
You needn't be so afraid around me. I'm not going to do anything. Please, keep it. You never know when it'll be necessary.
She places on your book and walks away.
If Euphemia was inside of that encounter, she probably would have narrowed eyes watching it now.
You did see it.
Okay.
June also has furrowed brow. She's clearly thinking it over. She's holding on to it.
She'll approach you directly.
Captain.
Any idea what the deal is going on with her?
I wish I knew.
What does she want?
She felt bad for not helping to move the dead merfolk to the base. Did something happen with the merfolk and her that I should be?
I mean, many of us have stories about merfolk and have seen some awful things.
She seems inordinately alarmed by me. And I wish I knew what it was, but I did.
I think it's your existence.
Well, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that.
She looks after Triss.
Do me a favor. Give this back to her, please.
She gave it to you.
I want her to keep it. She might need it.
Agreed. She'll pause as she starts to walk away. You made a personal sacrifice when we were leaving.
She raises an eyebrow in question.
You paid for someone to stay, and you left someone important behind.
She nods. There are a lot of hard decisions one has to make in life.
Tell me about it. Still, she turns and looks at you.
I am sorry we had to leave. She does look genuinely contrite that she had to force the issue. She didn't look like she wanted to. She looked like she was not important. I admit, I'm very concerned about Yen. Yen is one of my oldest friends. One of my dearest friends.
You know him that well.
Yes.
She looks at you with narrowed eyes, trying to parse her out.
He was my teacher in all things fate-related.
You must merit quite the attention, then.
It just depends on who you know, I suppose.
Like the Dragon of Fate.
Yes, like the Dragon of Fate. I'm scared for him. And while I acknowledge that is a personal feeling, I also am more concerned with what his demise might merit us. And I know I seem cold and harsh. And I'm aware that I can compartmentalize and make decisions that seem cruel. But sometimes cruelty is necessary, as much as I hate it.
I'm not sure if it should comfort me that you feel sorrow for painful decisions, or if it should frighten me that you'll do them anyway.
Sometimes things have to be done.
She nods once. Sometimes so. And walks on.
Guess that was for you.
June has spent much of the night watching Kibi play.
Maybe.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Cleby is going to approach you first a little bit earlier today for sparkles. Now he approaches you and dances. But his dance is wild and frolicking. He kind of throws his arms up and dances from side to side towards you.
She's smiling, and she looks... It's kind of like a bittersweet look as she watches him. She likes watching him play. She thinks it's cute. And she seems to be reminiscing on something. She will, of course, make the sparkles for him again, because clearly that's what he's going for.
Now and for the next 20 minutes till the end of the night.
She actually ends up making music for him at one point.
He's going to pretend to dance with a partner, and he goes, "Sherry, you are so beautiful."
She will actually make a little illusion. It looks like a tiny Yuffie. Like
Oh
a very
my God.
tiny Yuffie. And it glows, and she makes it dance with him.
Oh, Lord. I hope no one else sees that.
Oh, everybody sees it. She's on deck with him. She'll switch it up, and she makes it occasionally. She changes it to Isaac at one point. Everybody makes an appearance, except for Shadow. She noted that frightened him. So.
not be okay.
Clevey is exhausted by the end.
Thank goodness.
She winks at you while she does it, by the way, because she gave him marshmallows,
For
so
Bright
she's
Star.
clearly wearing you.
Kha'Zix arrives and hands a note quickly to Roland. Go ahead and read it aloud.
To Roland Tarkan, hero of Garen, I know you do not know me. I'm a friend of Eric Grant. Or you may know him as the Stone Wolf. I witnessed his reaction to your letter, and know he did not respond to it well. I write you now because you may be his only hope of living beyond the year. My name is Kyan Sordal. My father is Gimmon, owns the Bronze Griffin Tavern in Brightstalk, where Eric attends each afternoon and night, drowning his sorrows away in far too much ale for a normal man to survive. See, when I was younger, my life was saved by the Stone Wolf. My father feels a bond to Eric because of this. He promised to give him free drinks for life as long as he was in Brightstalk.
It's a bad choice.
Oops. Expecting to see the hero occasionally from then on, but Eric was in the process of moving to the town, unbeknownst to my father, and has since drunk near a keg of ale each week on the house. My father has withstood the financial strain of this on our business, but lately Eric has become despondent. Long before he received your letter, he's given in to his demons. Customers fear to come inside when he's there, but my father refuses to confront him. He'd rather see him die than challenge him, all because of me. I was the Stone Wolf my life, but Eric Grant needs saving, and I intend to pay my debt. I know for a fact that the World Dragon Krator is musing about taking away his powers. That is to say that he has disgraced his station, and this embarrassment might prove his last. I believe he would take his own life if that were to occur, for he thinks he has nothing to live for. He could still be a great man, Roland. I've seen it within him, and I still believe someone must have the courage to cut him off from the drink and help him move on with his life. I've tried, but I can't keep up with him. We need you, Roland. This is one battle that we need you to win. Please come as soon as you can. I do not know much longer you can last like this. Kind of sort of a fan. It sucks.
What does Roland's expression look like when he's reading it?
The face I'm making right now.
That's fair.
Is there a reply?
Yeah.
What do you write?
He writes, I'm on a mission right now. If there's a possibility to swing through Brightstalk, I will. But if not, upon completing the mission, I'll head there and hope it's not too late.
Just so Tyler's aware, this response is only because of your very strong persuasion check on the initial note. This otherwise would not have happened.
Cool.
Alright? You can keep that.
Oh, and just so you know, earlier when you said the thing about fear or whatever and being afraid, the reason he handed you that note is because he was like, you can read that if you want.
So she gets to hold onto the note and keep it?
Yeah.
Oh, she'd definitely read it then. She's curious about it.
Because you had some pretty, you made some assumptions on his situation, and he would have given that to you and just kind of walked away.
You want to share with the crowd? Not the in-game crowd, but like the crowd at the table.
He does not intend to help that town because they let his wife die in a fire.
Would you like to read it aloud, Jamie?
Over money.
Roland, who in the pits are you to talk to me? Have you really talked to those bastards in town? They killed my damn wife, you fool. She died screaming in a fire because of some money. That's who they are. Screw you and Harper. Drown in a ditch. Eric Grant.
Oh,
She probably would have just raised her eyebrows and offered the note back to you.
He was already sitting down away. Yeah, I mean, it's soaked in beer. It's not really worth holding on to. Point was made. Strongly.
It doesn't change the fact that even though something horrible like that happened, he's still kind of running away from his own
Oh,
pains.
yeah. No, for sure.
He's an alcoholic. Of course he is.
Yeah. But
Dom. Oh, what you say?
it's a little more understandable.
It is.
Especially because it's like
That
it's
particular...
personal. It's
Yes.
not like we asked him to come save a town that he's never been to before, or that he, had a great time in one time. He had a very bad time in.
I get the rationale for it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would help a village.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dom is going to ask for requests for his tale tonight.
She looks at Hero. Did you have a request?
Do you know the old lady in the gingerbread house? No. Dom says. Cleety puts up double fingers. A story that Dom often is asked to tell. Jania is going to say, "Oh yeah, tell the first story again." For Cleety, she says. Just for Cleety.
She looks at Jania. Mm-hmm.
All right then, Dom says. In the beginning, there were only mists upon the world. The great dragons and the angels flew in from the sky. There were 8. Yanjasi, the ruler of fate. Kazor, the war dragon, who controlled all flame. Lattice, the dragon of summer and warmth. Salt, the greatest, largest, but also the smallest, controlled the tides and the secrets. Arcantis, a living star dragon, controlled all magic and recorded all knowledge. Zosar, the dragon of death and undeath, a monstrosity of evil. And Krator, he says, the largest dragon of all, the great Earth Lord, who set the continents as he wished. And Sumzal, who carries the sun every day as his great burden, and at night joins among the little folks in the taverns to sing the greatest bard songs. These were the first, along with the angels. Satan, Mazrian, Zarth, Rathian, Garthin, and more. They flew in from afar. The angels made the heavens, gathering the mists and placing them in the sky. And then a shroud of invisible energy covered them. And Krator and the World Dragon set out to make the world, forging it with their claws, tails. The great oceans were wide then, and spanned it out forever. And as they forged the world, people began to appear. They say that first there were the Dre, ancient dragonborn warriors, he says, and their great shamans who worshipped all the world dragons. And then came the elves and the dwarves. And the elves made bows to fight against the dragons, and the dwarves found their mountain sanctuaries to avoid their teeth, for in those days dragons covered the skies. And slowly the world began to change. There was much darkness in those days. In every hill and beneath every tunnel the darkness dwelled, and the angels ravaged it across the land, wiping it from the surface, so that its eyes could no longer stand the sun. For the sun is the power of angels. And Sumzal carried it across the sky to burn them away. But one angel plotted. Satan turned his hand against his brothers. He gathered the darkness to himself and used it as a hammer, casting a great magic across the world to bring the first winter. And great sheets of ice covered everywhere except for Ignos. We were trapped. The angels and the dragons turned their efforts against Satan, for he had an endless horde that wore the bones of their enemies. They came in wave upon wave, but only the great first city, Garin, stood immortal, with walls that would never fall by fate, though they were hammered hard. And even the great war god, Kazor, came down to fight.
Jude makes a funny face at that.
I was interested to see if you were going to say anything. He says, and all joined together for the first and last time to kill Satan and cast him into the pit, a great hole in the ground near the scar. And as he fell to the bottom, they considered him dead. But of course he was not, for his spell was not broken. And he rose again to make the devils. And so the first story ends on a sad note that rises into the victory of the current age. Dom has told you before that he puts that little happy spin on the end of the first story, but it is not a happy tale. Usually it's sung by artsy bards trying to invoke some kind of tradition in their storytelling, and often told to children, which is what Gleeby was saying.
And Jonia.
No, she knew I did. As he finishes the story, well, there's not going to be any hot cocoa tonight. I think I'll tuck it.
If you like some, I can make it.
Oh, perhaps not. I think I might put on a pound or two, he says as he pats his belly. So, what do you all do?
So after tonight, we will be 1.5 days out from the Crystal Forest.
Correct.
Captain,
She raises an eyebrow at him. Yes.
surely you heard that voice that Cleeby was using earlier as he handed out the good berries. And he's saying this so that only you can hear. Are you not at all concerned as to where he learned that? I know it's nobody on this ship.
I'm deeply disturbed by it. I can't think of anyone he could have run across. Not while under my care, she says. But
Could it be from somebody long ago? I don't know how far back his memory goes as far as phrases are concerned.
I suppose I've never asked him. He had a difficult start, she says.
I think I would like that conclusion more than thinking that there's someone on this ship that we don't know about.
No. No, I can't imagine. Not while he's been with us.
Well, if you find any leads, let me know.
Why
At
do you
least-
ask? She breaks in. You seem concerned, she asks, kind of disbelieving.
Cleeby's a good kid. If anything, I'm just asking for my own peace of mind.
She looks like she's reconsidering him a little. You care for him?
I care for there being no stowaways on this ship.
I would know about a stowaway, she says.
Well, trust your judgment then. I'm sure it's nothing. And he will drop the subject. But he seems concerned about it.
She looks disturbed. Stowaways, she muttered under her breath. And then she goes downstairs to, ferret stuff out because she's freaked out now. She'll go talk to Bali. There's nowhere someone could hide on this ship. No, right?
What? Why are you asking me about this?
Good job making the captain.
Something that Isaac said.
Oh. No, there isn't.
I couldn't think of any. I just...
Got paranoid? For no reason? Even that creepy little baby homunculus he carries around?
The voice is probably that voice, isn't it? She says.
What? What voice? You're talking about the one Cleavy made?
It was disturbing.
That's a Nev. A hag pirate one. She used to give treats to all of the little ones on Ronan's ships.
It did sound familiar.
You remember that Cleavy watched for Ronan's flagship before he watched for us, right?
She says, you're right. I don't think I'm up to my usual par. Maybe I need to get some rest.
I think we need to talk to Triss.
Why?
You're correct. We'll get the answer to why you need to talk to Triss next time. Thank you for joining us, Noble Heroes. And remember, do try this at home. And make sure to give us a like and a subscribe.